Bridget A. Welcome to Drunk Dog Creative. Today's tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to make these corner pull cards. This is a fun fold that I've really enjoyed working with over the last few days. I've made this for my grandson who's 7, and I've also made a version for Thanksgiving. And they're really, and it's easier than it looks, and they're a really interesting and unique card. And they have an easel on the back that pops open. It folds flat for the envelope and then pops open so that you can stand it up just like that. If you see it from the side, closed, open. You stand it up so that it can be displayed on someone's shelf. I've done this a couple different ways, which I'll get to in the instructions. But I love this. Now, I have seen this done before, but I've seen it sized for imperial measures using inches and for 5-inch by 7-inch cards, whereas I wanted to make it for an Australian metric A6 size card. So this tutorial will be in the metrics for the Australians, British, Canadians, and Europeans out there. Hopefully I will be able to figure out how to do this for an American A2 card, and we'll put the sizes for that in the subtitles. Let me talk just a minute about this, especially this one. This front piece here is just a decorative thing I did by using the Sunflower 3D embossing folder from Stampin' Up, which you can see is quite large. It's an A5 metric size. I just put that little piece right here, and I embossed it, and then I ran over it with some ink and some blenders. There's another tutorial at drunkdogcreative.com that can show you how to do that, but I thought that made a pretty Thanksgiving card. The papers that I used for this card are from a Stampin' Up set called Gathered Together, and they're foiled. I hope the camera's picking that up, but one side is matte and one side is foiled, and I just think they're lovely for this kind of Thanksgiving card. So let's just get started on how to do this. There are full instructions also on the website at drunkdogcreative.com, and there's a PDF of the instructions that you will be able to purchase and download from Etsy if you want a PDF of it all. But it's all also on the website for free. So let's move those and let's talk about our cut plan. Okay, so we have a card base that it will go on to, which is usually cardstock, and it is 105 millimeters wide by 148 millimeters tall, the same size as a normal metric A6 card, except instead of opening, it's just a single piece. And you'll understand why as we get through it. So that's your card base. Then your corner pull base is where all the magic happens, and it is 168 millimeters wide by 210 millimeters tall. And I'll talk about the score lines after we get through the cut plan. So 168 by 210, this is going to be your corner pull base. Then you have a couple of mats for the corners. Let me see if I can get those. And I've chosen these two. So they go in the corners, front and back. And these two corner mats are 63 by 63. So that's one of the papers that I've chosen. Then we have the front left mat, which is another piece of this DSP that's double-sided, and that's going to go there. And that one is 63 by 67, and it goes there. It doesn't go all the way up, and you'll see why in a minute. And then you've got the front top right mat, which is going to go here, and that is 25 by 63. And I'll put it all together so you understand where they all go. Then, so that's for like the outside. For the inside, you have, so I'm trying to read this and it's a little too far away. The first inside mat is going to be for here, and this is 95 by 133. Then the next mat, which is usually another piece of designer series paper or pattern paper, is going to be 90 wide by 133 tall, and that goes there. Then you have the writing panel. So, okay, if I leave this in place. So the mat for the writing panel is going to be 70 wide by 100 tall. And then the writing panel itself, this is where you'd write a little message or stamp a sentiment or something like that. That's going to be 65 by 95. So that layers like that. And then for the front of the card, which is this bit, it's the same size, but I used different color for the mat. It is 70 wide by 100 tall and 65 wide by 95 tall. And that goes on the front of the card. Then you have a couple of pieces for the inside. And again, it's up to you what you want. I'm using fronts and backs of a couple sheets from this set. For the inside left DSP, it's 63 wide by 135 tall. And for the top one, it is 95 wide by 63 tall. And we have to do something else to those, which I will get to when we do all the scoring and the cutting later in the tutorial. But those are your cuts for your main pieces. Then for the easel, you're going to have a piece of cardstock that is 100 wide by 290 long. And again, I'll talk about where to score that when we get to that part. That's for the easel. If you're going to use an optional belly band to keep it together, because as you can see, it flops and it doesn't always stay together. If you're going to use a belly band, then your belly band will be 250 wide by 60 tall. And again, I'll get to the scoring when we get to that. But I also came up with another little fix for this, which I think is really nifty. If you look closely, I've used tiny magnets. And you can get them on eBay or Amazon. Those are, I think, 5 mil by 1 mil. And I have a YouTube short that shows you how to affix those, but that keeps it together quite neatly without having to cover everything with a belly band. All right, so that's your cut plan. And I know there's a lot of pieces to this. I know everything has pieces. So let me just tell you that all of this is at drunkdogcreative.com. The link is in the description to the video. You can also get a PDF of it. That link will also be in the description of the video. But I also cut down on all the fiddly bits when I made this one. And what I did differently with this one is that instead of using the paper to make the corner pull base, I just used the DSP itself. So as you can see, this is one side of the DSP. This is the other side. I made that corner pull piece out of the DSP itself. And then I didn't have to cut extra pieces for everywhere. I did still cut one piece for there because I thought it needed it. I could have done something here, but it didn't need it. I cut out some leaves from some dies that I had in my stash just to give it a little extra. But that's another way of doing it, is just using the DSP as your corner pull base. And then the only mats you have to cut are the inside corner if you want to, and then this area and this little front piece. So that saves on paper, but it does use a lot more of the DSP than just cutting the small strips to paste on. But that is one way of doing it. Now, one of the reasons I did it, and this is a warning I need to give you, if you try to make this corner pull base out of the normal cardstock, it's often too thick and stiff to close at all or to work well. So what I've actually cut mine out of, which you can see here, is the Stampin' Up! Two-tone paper. Can you see how it's darker on one side and lighter on the other? This paper comes in 12-inch by 12-inch sizes, so great for scrapbooking as well. It also, it comes in every color in the Stampin' Up! Range, every color. But it also comes in packs of a few different colors together. If you want to tip your toe in and see how they work. I love this stuff, and it's thicker than it is thicker than the DSP, but it doesn't feel as thick as the cardstock, and it still folds nicely. And that's what I've used on this one, is again that two-tone cardstock. And then I've made a whole bunch of things to cover it, all the mats to cover it. But you do want a cardstock for this part of the card that folds easily and holds its shape. You can do it with cardstock. It's just a tiny bit thick and can get annoying to work with. But we'll come back to it. So this is if you're just using the DSP for the corner pull. It saves you having to attach all the bits and pieces, but you can see the difference in the look. I think it's still a great look. Let me open both of these up, and you can see the difference from the inside as well. So there you go. The other tip is you don't have to do these pieces. You can leave that plain, kind of like I did here, and leave it plain or put some embellishment on it. You don't have to do those pieces. And they're a little tricky because of how you have to cut them apart to get on either side of the fold. But I'm giving you that option. So there's lots of options with the card. Any colors can be used, any patterned paper, any stamps you already have, any embellishments you already have. You decorate this however you want. I did some embossing and a sentiment there. I did some stamping there. So you just do you, however you want. All right, so now let's get to actually making the card. I'm going to bring over my trimmer, my Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, which has a built-in scoring blade as well as the cutting blade. So I tend to leave the cutting blade at the bottom and scoring blade at the top so I don't mix them up. You have to do 3 scores on this, and you can see I've already done the main 2. The first score, and this is the corner pull base, is at 67 millimeters, and I know these are odd. I know that, but they need to be for this to fit the final configuration. So you can see I've already scored it. 67 millimeters right down the long way, and then turn it, and you do another 67 millimeters from the top along the short way, and that's your first cross. After you've got that done, you need to, just move that for a moment, you need to grab your ruler and a pencil, and you need to line your ruler up along the top and have it start right where that score line is that you just did, and mark 67. You have to be pretty precise about this. Mark 67 millimeters from that score line to the mark along the top. Then turn it sideways, and on this side, line your ruler up with this score line, and again mark 67 millimeters from that score line down. And then you can put your ruler and your pencil back, and you bring your trimmer back. And this is where I love the Stampin' Up! Trimmer with the built-in scoring line, because you can score on diagonals. So what you want to do now is take the mark at the top and the mark on the left and make sure they're both in the groove. You can see this groove, which is your cutting groove and scoring groove. Put both marks in that groove. Make sure that groove runs through the X made there. So put my guard down, and that should be right in the middle of the guard. You should be able, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I can see it here. And be as precise as you can to line those up and score right along that diagonal. And that's what makes the magic happen. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and they all intersect in that same point. Be as accurate as possible. Let me put that away. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to fold this to make the mechanism work. We're going to fold this in a mountain fold, which means it goes up, so toward you. Burnish it with your bone folder. Do the same thing with this side. And remember, if you use the two-sided cardstock, have a think about whether you want the light or the dark on the outside or the inside, because working towards you, this is the inside. All right, so I've done both of those in mountain fold. Now I'm going to do that diagonal in a valley fold, where I'm going to fold it away from me. And I'm going to burnish it. So what I've done is one fold toward me, the second fold toward me, and the third fold away from me. And it should sit like this, so that when you go to close it, if you pick those up toward each other, that bit should go into a square, just like that. Then what you're going to want to do is also burnish that as much as possible. So that all sits nice and flat. All right, so then you've got your corner pull card base. So it's all based on that scoring. So we'll put that aside for a second. Now the next thing I would do is I would start attaching the pieces of DSP to this. So I would start with the inside. And for that I was going to use these. And these, and one of these. Yeah, I'll use this one. All right, so we're going to start with the inside. Do the easy one first. The corner just goes right in there, whether you use glue or glue tape. I'm running low on tape, so I'm just going to use some glue. Also, glue is good if you need to get it pretty precise with that same size border all around and you need to move it a little bit or wiggle it a bit. So I'm going to get that one in first. Then I'm going to layer these two. Ooh. That's upside down. Okay, not that it matters. I could have just flipped the whole thing around. So line this up so you've got kind of an even amount of space all the way around. And then this one goes right here. You start to see how this starts to look. Now, if you're going to stamp something, if you're going to embellish this, I would do that before you put it in. And you can leave it to last, but at least put this in centered. It's really important to get this one centered. And that's where grid paper may help, although I'm pretty good at eyeballing it. But if you just give it a quick check, you really want this piece as accurately centered as possible. It should be about it should be about 1 centimeter each side. So that, as long as that one's in place, because you need it to position the front. This can go on at the end if you're going to stamp something on it. Don't do it in here. How many times have I assembled it and then stamped it and messed up the stamp and then had to pull it apart and ripped things? So always better to leave anything that's going to have stamping or artwork or anything until the end. So I'm going to leave it off for now. This is the only really tricky bit, is these. Now, you can leave this just as it is. There's no need to cover these. However, if you're going to, there is a trick to it so that they sit on those corners. And I'm going to show you what it is. You're going to put that in place just as if you were gluing it down, but no adhesive. Don't put any glue on it. And where that fold line is, which you should be able to just see peeking out, and in this corner, it should be right on the corner, just put a mark right where the fold line is. Can you see that? There and there. Mark that. Put this one in place, making sure it's fairly even all the way around. And again, this line should be right in that corner, but this line needs to be marked on here. So just mark both. And then I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Grab your ruler, and you're going to put your ruler right on that mark. And you're going to mark 2 millimeters on either side of it. Just like that. 2 millimeters either side of that mark. Same with this one. Millimeters are hard to do this with because they are so tiny. All right, so you're going to mark 2 millimeters either side of each of these marks. Hope you can see this. It's pretty fiddly. All right, so I've got my marks all the way around. I grab my trimmer again, and I'm going to trim from the rightmost mark to the rightmost mark at a diagonal. And you really do need to decide which side you want your paper on, because if I cut it this way, I can't flip it over. So I've decided I'm going to go with this foiled bit. So I'm going to cut from, again, just line the edge of your mark into that groove, the edge of the mark into that groove. Oh, that was my scoring blade. First cut made. Then I'm going to move it over a tiny bit and cut from the leftmost at the top to the left of that corner, those two marks. So what I'm essentially doing is taking a 4 millimeter piece out of the middle. By doing it this way, you keep the integrity of the angle, and I'll show you what I mean. It's fiddly, but it's worth it. So now, I mean, you'll erase those marks after. Now that fits there, and that fits there on either side of that join with the proper amount of space between them, and the angle keeps its integrity. If I had just cut this from the very first mark to the corner, one, they would be together, and if I tried to separate them, the angles would be wrong. So by taking out that 4 millimeter piece in the middle on either side of where that line will be, they line up perfectly. And you do the same thing with this piece. So in this case, you put the corner at the top, and I'm going from top right to bottom left. So I want the mark that is just to the right of the corner lined up with the rightmost mark along the left edge. Be right there. I'm going to cut there, and then I'm going to do the same with the left marks. And then I'll put this away. And then you'll see these are all good to go. They're the right spacing, the right angles, so I can go ahead and paste them in. And that looks quite nice. The other thing you can do is do that with two separate pieces, or you can swap the two tops and flip them over. The tops work, the bottoms don't, because the bottoms are different sizes, but the tops are the same size. So you could do that to really add a wow factor. Or you can leave it off completely, like that, or match them. So that's up to you. I actually think I'm going to flip the tops over on this one. And then just take an eraser and erase all of those pencil marks. Sorry, my big eraser is elsewhere at the moment. Just go ahead and erase those pencil marks, including on the card. And you can go ahead and glue these down. And that's the inside of the card done, except for whatever sentiment we're going to stamp and put in place. Quite cool. And again, do what you want. You do not have to cover the whole thing in DSP at all. You can leave it completely blank and you can do whatever you want. But that's kind of the inside. Now we're going to turn it over. If I close it for a sec, the next thing to do is to do the front. So I'm going to put that piece on. And then I'm going to put this piece here. Now, you could do the same thing you did up here for this, but I actually don't think it's necessary. But if you want to cut a piece that fits all of that and then cut in between like I did here, go for it. But when the card is in use, that is what you see. So I am not going to bother going through the pain of taking out a 4mm slice in the middle to maintain the integrity of the angle. I will tell you, maths was never my strong suit at school. Geometry and I did not get along at all. So the fact that I figured that out is a little bit miraculous. And then this is the 25 by 63 piece that goes in the top. Again, you could do the whole thing across like you did on the inside, but not much of that is seen. So you really only need to do that edge. So there's your inside, there's your outside. And you close it together. It looks like that so far. What we need to add now is the front of the card. And again, anything you're gonna do to this, do before you attach it to the card. So again, if you're gonna stamp something, if you're gonna emboss or color or do anything, do that before you attach it to the card. So again, I'm gonna leave it off for now. I'm going to attach this piece to the front so that it covers the inside mat. So I want it to be placed so that it's just a tiny bit below, a tiny bit below that and a tiny bit to the right of that. So I kind of want it placed there. It's not quite center, it doesn't need to be, but you can only attach it to this part. Don't put glue anywhere else or none of this is going to work. So I'm going to just kind of line it up and I'm just going to kind of eyeball the corner that I need. And I'm just going to go in a little more than I think I need to with glue or glue tape. And again, place it back down. And again, I like to use glue because I can reposition it a bit better. But there, that's down and none of the glue has spread outside of that area. Because if it does, this won't close. So that's your card open. That's your card closed. And once you decide what you're going to do for sentiments, or embellishments, that's going to go there. And that's going to go there. And that's most of your card. I'm still going to leave those off because I have not decided what I'm going to do with those. And I want to do something. But now I'm going to take my card base. This is the one that's 105 by 148. And I'm going to attach this to it. And I'm going to have it centered on it. Now, what I did here, y'all aren't going to believe what I did. I cut the wrong color for this. I meant to go with the Cajun curry, like this one. Instead, I ended up with exactly the same color, which is not what I wanted to do. So I'm going to switch that up right now. Okay, I'm back with new pieces. It would have been fine. I just like this color better. And since I'm actually going to use this as a Thanksgiving card for family and friends in the US, I thought I better fix it now. Okay, so I've got my card base, which is 105 by 148 for standard metric A6 card. Even though I'm sending it to America, I'm making it in my size because of our envelopes. All right, so I want to attach this to that. I'm just going to put some tape on this. You can use glue too, doesn't matter. And I'm going to use my grid pad to get that nice and square and help me line that up right in the middle. Nice and even all the way around. So there's my base. Now the other thing you can do, if you don't want to put an easel on the back, you could make this base an actual card that opens, like a normal card. And then you could have like decoration on the front, decoration on the inside, and then a bigger message when that opens. So you don't have to put the easel on it. I just thought the easel was cool. I did see it on someone else's video for an American card, and honestly, I've looked for it and I cannot find it to give credit. So whoever that person was, I'm so sorry. You deserve the credit for the easel idea. If I can find it by the time I publish this, I'll drop it into the description and onto the web page. So anyways, that's now on there. So now I'm going to make the easel. So I've got a piece of cardstock, same color, that is 290 millimeters by 100 millimeters. And I have scored it, hope you can see this, at 120 millimeters, at 240 millimeters, this is going left to right, 260 millimeters, and 280 millimeters. So what I've got is two sections that are 120 each, two sections that are 20 each, and one section that is 10 each. So the first thing I'm going to do is mountain fold that first one. So fold toward me, grab my bone folder. I'm going to mountain fold that. Then I'm going to mountain fold, turn it over, and mountain fold the first score line on the other side toward me. And then I'm going to valley fold the next one. And you can open it up, meaning away from me. You can open it up to do it. So I had it this way, then I fold it away from me, and then I fold the next one, mountain fold toward me. And again, just do that. So now what I've got, probably easier to see it this way, is a mountain fold, a mountain fold, a valley fold, and a mountain fold. And that's what makes your mechanism. Now, how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue tape or glue or whatever you want along that smaller 10 millimeter piece. Then I'm going to just fold that up, to just fold that all up and hold it. And I'm going to bring this piece over and just press it down. And look at that. You've got your easel. So it closes up and it pops open. Then I'm going to take this first piece and I'm going to glue it onto the back of the card, the whole card. I'm going to center it across, but I'm going to have it aligned right at the bottom so that it creates a stand. Pull that glue off. It creates a stand for the card. So the important thing is to line up the bottom of this with the bottom of the card. So I'm going to take just some glue tape. Again, you can use glue too, totally up to you. And I'm going to see if I can show you this better. I'm just gonna have it centered, but I'm gonna line it, hold that together. It's easier if I hold it up actually. I'm gonna just line that right up with that bottom edge. And then the card will stand. You probably can't see that because the camera's top down, so I'll have to put a photo in. But that holds the card up, and it stands. And that's it. That's how easy it is to make this card. The only things you've got to do now are these two bits need to be done and then glued or fixed down, and then you have to decide if you're going to use a belly band or the magnet trick. So let me show you the belly band trick, and I'll do it with this color. I have a piece that is 185 wide by 75 tall, and I have scored it going from the left at, wait, which side is which? At 75 and at 185. I've scored it there. You're just gonna gently fold it on both those folds, and you're gonna overlap this either way, whatever way you want, it doesn't matter. Just gonna put a couple of tape runs, seal it shut, and then you can decorate this as well, but it just slips over the card. You know, whatever color, even if it's designer series paper, it doesn't have to be cardstock, although cardstock is sturdier. Just slip it down and it holds the card in place. And so in this case, if you had your sentiment thing there, you would probably want to decorate that with something, and they can just slip it off to open the card. The thing I have about belly bands is if the front of the card had been fairly plain, I'd be okay with it and I'd go to town on the band. But this card isn't. The way I'm doing them isn't. And so I think it hides too much of it. And if you start getting into embossed bits and tags that stick up, it can get caught. So for this particular card, I didn't want the belly band personally. You are more than welcome to. I'm going to grab 2 magnets and show you how I did the magnets. So for this, you need some mini glue dots, your Take Your Pick tool, which I say in almost every video is my absolute favorite ever tool, and you can see how worn mine is. I got these tiny little neodymium, or however you pronounce it, rare earth magnets, probably on eBay. They are 5 by 1 millimeter. So I'm going to pull 2 off, and I'm going to keep the 2 together the whole time. This is so tiny, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to keep the 2 stacked. I'm going to take my glue dots. I'm going to find the next one on the tape, and I'm going to lift it up with my Take Your Pick. I have a YouTube short about this too. And I'm going to just place it on one side of the magnet. And then I'm going to open up the card, and I'm going to put that right in that far corner, like that. Oh, I just dropped one. Again, usually keeping both magnets together. I mean, it doesn't matter if it comes off there, but you definitely want them together for the next part so that they line up. Grab another one of those mini dots. These mini glue dots are the bomb for stuff like this and for embellishments. Place it on there with your pick. Make sure the 2 magnets are stacked together, and then simply close your card and press down on the magnets so that, not so hard you bend the paper like I just did, so that they're still aligned. But now when you open it, one is in its spot, the other is in its spot, and when you close it, the card stays closed. These are not expensive magnets. Amazon and eBay, you can get them really cheaply. Just make sure they're really little. 5 or 6 mil is more than enough. 1 or 2 mil in thickness is the most you want. but they're fantastic for all sorts of projects. They're surprisingly strong. I even use these tiny little ones as fridge magnets. So there you go. Probably go a bit different with the colors next time, but I'm also running out of this two-tone cardstock. I think this card would have looked really great with the dark espresso and the Cajun craze instead of the pecan pie. But anyways, it still works. As you can see here, this worked well too. In this case, I went straight to the DSP, so I don't have that triple layer of matting or 4 layers of matting. It's the card backing straight to the DSP, whereas card backing plain colored corner pull out mats everywhere. But this one, I just used the DSP because both sides of it were so pretty, and then little offcuts elsewhere. That will save you a lot of time, but it will use a lot more of the patterned paper and give you less variety on the front. But all of those are absolutely doable. So there you go. Happy making, everybody.